It's brutal, and I would never wish it upon anybody. It's that difficult. And at the same time, 135 people are impacted by the death of somebody from suicide. From I am seeing unbelievable mothers get out there, make change, bring their expertise that they've built up over years and years and years, keep
Yeah.
it alive with a baby on their hip. Funding is difficult for any business,
Yes.
but the statistics for women are there that, yes, even though I'm in manufacturing and toilet paper, finance is unbelievable, and it's the engine room of I'm one of 6 girls, so my parents, my dad is Moroccan, my mum is Australian. My dad really wanted a boy, and they just kept going until they were too old. That's pretty much the summary of that.
Welcome to another episode of Startup Journeys Founders Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the human side of entrepreneurship and the profound impact startups can have on our lives. I'm your host, Paul King, and today we have the honor of hosting a remarkable entrepreneur and advocate for mental health, Rochelle Rich. The journey we're about to embark on is not just about business. It's a deeply personal exploration of the intersection between entrepreneurship, grief, mental health, and positive social change. Rochelle's story begins with a raw and powerful reflection on the devastating impact of suicide on so many lives, including her own. This experience became the catalyst for her passionate commitment to transforming the landscape of mental health in Australia. As Rochelle steps into the spotlight, she shares her heart-wrenching personal experience of losing a loved one to suicide in 2020. The alarming suicide statistics in Australia become the backdrop for a crucial conversation about the urgent need for mental health awareness and support. Rochelle introduces us to Emotions, a social enterprise she founded to bring about change and provide tools for mental health through innovative means. Emotions, as Rochelle explains, isn't just about raising awareness. It's a conscious effort to redirect everyday spending towards a greater purpose. With a unique approach, Emotions incorporates emotions charts into everyday products like toilet paper to create a tangible connection between mental health awareness and daily life. Rochelle's dedication is evident as she pledges 50% of Emotions profits to partner charities, including Beyond Blue, Lifeline Australia, and the Black Dog Institute. But it doesn't stop there. Sustainability is at the core of Emotions' mission, with a focus on eco-friendly and sustainably sourced materials. Rochelle draws an inspiring link between mental health and environmental care, urging us to consider the profound impact our choices can have on both. Join us for a riveting conversation on the human side of entrepreneurship. This is Startup Journeys Founders Unplugged, where personal stories meet business impact. Welcome, Rochelle, to Startup Journeys Founders Unplugged. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And we've got a lot to talk about today, and you've got a really amazing journey, heartfelt journey as well, and something that I think can help a lot of people in particular area, but we'll talk about that more. So I think just to get started, can you share your personal experiences that drove your passion for mental health and led to the creation of Emotions?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I begin, I always like to share Lifeline's phone number.
Yes.
Lifeline is 13 or 13 11 14. That's 13 11 14. And the reason why I share it is because it's a deeply personal and painful story. But what I've come to realize is there are just so many people out there who have experienced the same thing. And my story really began in 2020 when I lost a loved one to suicide. Um, and it was heart-wrenching, and it still is to this day. And there are about 3,000 people who die from suicide in Australia every single year. And that's about 9 people every day. And 75% of those people are male. And it's just so difficult to even talk about. And so that's why I say Lifeline's phone number is 13 11 14 if I do trigger something in anybody here. And that really started off the drive to make some change in our mental health system. And yeah, I'm happy to share so much more about that with you today. Where can I begin?
What you've set up is a social enterprise. So tell us a little bit about what Emotions is, and how does it contribute to positive social change in mental health?
Well, emotions comes from an emotions chart. So in 2020, when we lost our family member to suicide, I had a 2-year-old at the time, and I wanted to explain to him the fluctuating nature of emotions and feelings, because it's very difficult to go through a personal healing journey, let alone with a young child. And that emotions and feelings chart helped me so much, helped him, and it helped our whole family. And it was something that I really wanted to share around with um, everyone at the time, because there were constant mental health challenges during the pandemic. And merging that chart that we had in our family onto a product like toilet paper that wasn't available on the shelves, products that we're all using every single day, became a way to advocate, create awareness, give people the tools that they need. If they're not thinking about it at the time, the logos of our partner charities, Beyond Blue, Lifeline, and the Black Dog Institute, are all on the packaging, which I've got here, our latest version. Black Dog Institute, Beyond Blue, and Lifeline. In case in a moment somebody isn't feeling great,
Yeah.
and they may not think about it.
Yeah, and all three of them are fantastic organisations that do wonderful work in that area.
Yes, they are. The Black Dog Institute, amazing for the science-backed, data-driven changes that we need as a society. Beyond Blue, huge throughout every corner of Australia, every demographic. And Lifeline, as a phone call in a moment where somebody, one of those 9 people, if they can be supported through that instance, will often come out for the next day. And that's all we need to do. And we were chatting earlier about that, where I've come to hear this beautiful story of whales, because whales are mammals and all mammals can experience depression. And what happens in nature, if one of the whales isn't well, maybe they're mourning the loss of a loved one themselves, the whales around them will circle around, bring them food, care for them until they're well again, and then they can get back into the groove of being a whale. And that's the same with people. We just need to support people through circumstantial or lifelong mental health issues and get them back on track. And we can really reduce that suicide rate down to 0, which is Emotions' 10-year goal.
That's a fantastic goal, and I commend you on that. And also, of course, your toilet paper is sustainable as well. And tell us a bit about that. Where it's how is it created and manufactured, and what do you use?
Yep. Well, I'll start with, there's a belief and well, data-backed science information now that there's a connection between mental health, well-being, and the environment. So what we want to do is make sure that we are taking care of that vital link between mental health and caring for our planet. So everything that we do is all the cartons, all the packaging, 100% recycled for all the packaging and cartons. But then there's the products which can either be 100% recycled or 100% bamboo. And so even on that packaging, again, we've got soybean ink, because we don't want to skip a beat. And when we can, you'll see on our website, emotions.org.au, we've also got manufacturing here in Australia.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that is, reducing our carbon footprint, well beyond even our deliveries, which are carbon neutral, but just every part of the supply chain, optimizing it because of that interconnected nature between protecting ourselves and protecting the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And recently talking with Graham Cowan from WeCare 365, he was saying that one of the most important things to help us to get through things and like in a organization as well, or even in teams, is to have a really good purpose, um,
Yes.
and that helps our mental health as well. So if
Yes.
you're helping sustainability, mental health, all in one. And I have to say, it's interesting with bamboo. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I actually use bamboo sheets and pillow slips and absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So in what way is that sustainable? I know it grows like crazy, but
Yep.
yeah,
It grows really well. We don't
okay.
have to plant and pull
Yeah,
down trees.
yeah,
Recycled is also unbelievable, but there is a shortage, a global shortage of recycled paper. So we
hmm,
don't want people going and chopping down any more trees to create more recycled.
yeah,
Recycled also only has a short timeline where you can recycle it, I think, up to 3 times, and then it no longer has the right fiber
yeah,
context to pull it apart.
hmm, hmm,
Um, and then bamboo, and there's a blog on our website about it. Bamboo is luxurious, it's soft, it's easy, it's fun. It's just everything that you would want out of a material. Um,
absolutely.
and yeah, like you said, with the bed sheets and the clothing, it lasts longer, it feels better.
Yeah.
And it's the way things are going now.
Yeah, I swear I sleep better with bamboo. And just going back to the whole, the COVID, and like it was a terrible time, and
Yeah.
mental health increased hugely in that time. It's like threefold to what it was before, and it affected the whole world really, and all the lockdowns, and yeah, so that really, you sort of started in that period,
Yep.
and also having that tragedy happen to you at that time as well, and COVID.
Yep.
Tell us about that. It must have been just terrible.
It's brutal, and I would never wish it upon anybody. It's that difficult. And at the same time, I hate to say silver lining because there never is when people suffer so much.
Yeah,
The thing is, people were suffering in silence before. Now, before COVID, 1 in 5 people had experienced a mental health issue. Now
yeah,
it's 2 in 5. Whereas that 1 in 5 before didn't speak up. The stigma was so much stronger. And now that so many other people can relate, we can talk about it. Stigma isn't the main focus anymore, which in a way is a good thing. Uh,
yes,
and then since then, we've had the after effects. So for anybody who knows, um, what's it called? PTSD. So PTSD is after people have been strong, they experience all of
mm,
the difficulties that come with the pandemic. And we've had economic uncertainty and fluctuations. And anybody in business had to rewrite their whole business plan at
yeah,
night whilst having
yes,
kids at home. And then there's the mortgage stress. And then, everybody's experiencing these things one way or another. We're all human. We all, try and be strong for as long as we can.
yeah.
And then sometimes we just need that extra support, and that's what emotions foundation is, just to talk about we are all human, we're all experiencing these things. Let's pick up the research a little bit, let's put some more funding, let's not lose precious lives because we've developed so far in physical health, medical advancements in the last 100 years,
Yeah.
but mental health for some reason is still not up there. And that's why we pledge 50% of our profits to donate them to our partner charities, as well as a lot of community groundwork to support people through awareness and care.
That is wonderful. That's a huge amount of your earnings going to that, to really good causes, and it'd be great if more organisations would do something like that. Some, even the bigger corporations. I know some
Yes,
of them do something in some areas, but
yes,
that's a great example, I think, for others as well.
absolutely. And Organizations have such a pivotal role now in how people are buying and spending their money and how they're caring for their staff and their stakeholders. Organizations are really picking up a lot of the slack from government at the moment. And slack is a very negative word. Let's say budget cuts are necessary during certain economic times. But organizations are communities and they can really share messages well, either through employee engagement or fostering a supportive environment. It's so important for them, and that's one of the things that Emotions has really been tapping into. We sell toilet paper and tissues and paper towels. There's nothing special about that, but what we do is make it easy for these employers to just change over what they're already buying anyway. It shows their support. It makes them philanthropists because a donation comes from their purchase.
Yeah.
And that is really where we can make a difference together, and they get all the kudos and support and show their support for people in their environment.
Yeah, let's hope, a lot more organizations get on board with that. Even, anyone can really go to your website, is that right? And they can order it online?
Yep, emotions.org.au.
You're listening to Startup Journeys, Founders Unplugged with Paul King. This podcast is really to help like early stage and new startup founders. And you've been for the journey a couple of times. So you've had a fintech startup that you had for 13 years and then you sold at some point. Yes. And then now you have Emotions, I think it's around 3 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, nearly. In March, it's 3 years. Okay. Time flies.
Okay. Now, it can be pretty brutal in the startup world. And maybe would you say more so for women? I'd like to get into that topic because so far I've interviewed all men. So it's wonderful to have a female on the podcast and get their points of view as well. So
yes,
I guess what unique challenges do startup founders face, and are there any particular ones for women that you think that are unique as well? And how can you, or what advice could you give other startup founders, and particularly women in the space?
Women, okay. I'll start with I'm one of 6 girls. So my parents, my dad is Moroccan, my mum is Australian. My dad really wanted a boy and they just kept going until they were too old. That's pretty much the summary of that. So I come from a family of very powerful women. We were all university educated and pushed to the max and trained. Our conversations at the dinner table were about business. Right. If you don't have that benefit, network. It's really just finding the mentors, finding the people, constantly talking to everyone and finding your way. But so I kind of entered the world with this expectation that, of course I'm going to be starting a business. And my first business that you touched on, the fintech financier, I started that when I was 18 and I had a lot of great guidance around that. Both at university when I studied a Bachelor of Commerce and then also at home when I just went home completely broken and didn't know what to do. So that's all I know. So when you say to me, it's really tough, it's really hard, I haven't had as much of the experience out there in the working world to draw on. All I can say is it's really, really tough, and resilience is important because a lot of the time it's taken out of our hands. And the reason why I say that is funding is difficult for any business.
Yes.
But the statistics for women are, only 2%, under 2% get the funding that they're looking for. If they bring in a male founder, it goes up to 17%.
Really?
And it's real. It's painful. I've felt it. But, another one of your guests from Red Hat Impact and Lend for Good have been unbelievable in this journey. And so remember Red Hat Impact, remember Lend for Good.
Cameron Neal. Yeah.
They've helped with Emotions because, they recognize not only social enterprises, but female founders have difficulty in the capital markets. So there's a recognition that it's hard, but my older sister, number one, we call her. She's just turned 60, and she's a barrister, and she was really her whole career paving the way for women to go into law. And she was the one who made it easier for my generation,
Mhm.
now at 37, to walk through with much less difficulty. But saying that, in my early 20s, because I was already in finance, already had a level of experience, a credit license, all the things that were very difficult, but got them.
Yeah.
I was invited to speak on a board or be present on a board, and they said to me, "We're inviting you because we don't have any women." And I'm like, "Okay, no, thank you. I'm
Oh,
Yeah, that's not the place for me." And
no.
so, yeah, it's just navigating this intricate web of difficulties.
Mm.
And I've gone around the last few years saying it's not about how you get knocked down, because you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down more times than you can count. It's how
Yes.
quickly you stand up again, how quickly
Yes.
you can get yourself
Yeah.
back together again.
Yeah. Yeah. Your resilience, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. Actually, that whole funding area is interesting, and I know I've talked to also Ben Jeffries from ATEC. I don't know if you know him, but he's doing a lot in the social impact space in Asia and helping women with electromagnetic stoves and all that sort of thing, and
Oh,
with
yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
then they
that
get
was
credits back for the community. Is
yeah,
that?
yeah, carbon credits.
Yeah.
He's doing wonderful work as well. I think he was also funded through Red Hat Impact, and
Yeah.
um, I think he suggested, "Oh, you should do a forum, Paul, on funding." And I thought, yeah, that'd be great. We could bring in Cameron, and I also interviewed a VC and someone who was a mentor when I was at the Macquarie Incubator, Nick McNaughton, that's got 30 years in the space, and he had some really good points as well. So maybe one day we could do a bit of a forum, and because I think it's an area, according to Cameron, there's a $90 billion gap even just in Australia alone.
Easy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all of that excites me so much, because I spent so much time building out things like processes around eligibility. Who should be getting that funding? Who can afford it? Who can repay it? How will they repay it in a way that either supports them as a person or as a business, so
yeah.
they grow and they don't come back for funding? So there's just so much history there that, yes, even though I'm in manufacturing and toilet paper, finance is unbelievable, and it's the engine room of the world.
It is, and Cameron saying, well, he started as a psychologist, and
Yeah.
actually he got there was a lot of suicides as well when he first started in the schools, I think, and that's sort of what pushed him. And he realized that all these projects need funding, and he said, now I'm looking at spreadsheets all day, but this is actually helping the whole area, the impact area as well. So
Oh,
it is
no,
so important.
yeah. And his psychology background would also help a lot with how people spend their money and what they want to do with it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to get you on the panel as well if we do a forum. What do you think?
Love it. Not
Okay.
because I'm a woman, but because, yeah, this is
Yeah.
the shift and the change. So going back to your question now, I am seeing unbelievable mothers get out there, make change, bring their expertise that they've built up over years and years and years, keep
Yeah.
it alive with a baby on their hip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just being a mother is an amazing job. I think it's one of the most amazing jobs in the world and very much underrated. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely would fail if I was. I I actually this sounds I don't know if it sounds terrible, but I always say I'm really glad I chose to be a male because you guys have it much harder. It's so much more work and you've got babies so
I want to agree with that, because it is that hard. And then at the same time, men have feelings too, but for some reason, we see world politics playing out now, and war, and it's the women and children who are being saved, and men are being left behind almost. And then the rate of suicide, 75% of it is attributed to men. And then the pressures of, and Movember do such a great job of it, the pressures of not crying and not speaking up for so many years are now being shifted to how are you feeling? And so
Yeah.
we all have our challenges. That's the thing. We're all going to get knocked down. We're in a system and a game almost, but
Yeah.
how can we support each other to be our best selves, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to what you were saying about only 2% of females get funding, do you think that's because there's a disproportionate ratio of men investors and VCs?
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one thing. And also Emotions has a female-led and recently investment through a VC, and their whole mission is to support female founders. So there's a whole lot of women behind it, and there is growth from the grassroots. Women are usually around the age of 50 have the highest savings and spending run throughout all of the data that we're looking at, both on our sales backgrounds and also what I'm seeing in investment side. So
Yeah.
women are coming now into the game, but when I originally started to look at raising funds for Emotions about 12 months ago, when I really put my head to it, I spoke to, I think, 99% men. Yes.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would be like that because in my startup we didn't try and get a funding. We, were self-funded.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyhow, looking back, I think, or maybe we should have in the early days, and we could have really, gone ahead a lot quicker. But we had the COVID as well. We were just starting to get some really good traction. COVID came, and yeah, so it
It's
was difficult,
they're
and
both ways are tough.
yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough, and yeah, that's what this podcast is all about. I'm just putting myself back at that time. Oh, if only I did this or knew that or had this help. That's what it's about. So getting wonderful experts like yourself on, or people more than experts, people that have experienced or are experiencing, the journey. And we love to hear their stories and hear what sort of advice they have. So,
Really, it's just hard work and trial and error, and also I don't even see myself as an expert. I'm just someone who puts myself in really difficult positions, but thinks that once it pays off, it pays off. And I have completely been driven by the stories of people who buy from us, and they're the ones who actually show me that we're creating a community that people want to be a part of. We all want to see the change, and so many people impacted. It's way beyond that 2 in 5 people impacted by mental health. It's the 135 people, a Lifeline statistic, 135 people are impacted by the death of somebody from suicide, from the coffee shop attendants, their friends, family, colleagues,
right.
everyone that grew up with them. And that's 135 as an average.
Mhm. That's huge, and I saw that post on your LinkedIn as well, and 135 people, family members, work colleagues, friends, first responders, all impacted. So you wouldn't think that, but if you think deeply about it,
Yeah,
that is the case,
yeah, yeah. And
and
in our case, it was more like 1,000 because our in our case, you know, it was during COVID. Nobody was allowed to go to the funeral. It was outdoors, and the family were around. But then in the background, we could see along the mountaintops, almost there was a big hill. There were so many people who came to pay their respects on Facebook and Instagram. We could see so many people completely at loss because we lost somebody who, I don't know what the face of suicide looks like. Really, I don't. But it wasn't at the time, she was creative, caring, loving, vegetarian, smart, finished her degree, was in the working world, beautiful, everything that you don't expect. And so it's much more than 135 people. In so many cases, and it stays forever. it doesn't go away.
And having said that, what do you think some of the signs? I mean, obviously, it seemed like everything was fine, but are there some underlying signs that you can pick up, or you know, or should you be asking them regularly? Are they okay? Try and have conversations with them. But I guess if everything seems to be okay, you wouldn't even think of that.
So there are people who don't call out for help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, and it really is just about people need community and connection. And so if we're always checking in, it's the best we can do. You can't feel guilty about it. In our case, she did also call out for help, and she did take all the right steps to get it. And it was in 2020 when people were being sent home because hospitals, doctors, everybody was overwhelmed. Nobody knew what was going on. There were lockdowns, there was isolation, there were mistakes that were made, that sort of thing. And it's just a very, very difficult case where it should not have happened. And then at the same time, like I was saying, we're all mammals and we all have the tendency to experience depression. It's really about circling around the people as much as you can. So, another really difficult story that I personally experienced was I had postnatal depression. Now, at a time when I wanted nothing but happiness and care, I
Mm.
was completely detached from my emotions. It's one of the symptoms of depression.
Yeah.
Couldn't feel happiness, couldn't feel anything. And I was very lucky that my sisters and my mum brought me food. My dad took care of my son. I had a supportive partner who took care of our child and took him out, gave me rest, but nothing could actually stop the depression.
Yeah.
I had all of the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the ability to go and do the things that I needed to. Nothing actually stopped it. People sat with me and listened to me,
Yeah.
but over time it passed. And that's
Mm.
that's my main thing, where people will experience very difficult times, and it's just about sitting with them and creating the network that they need, because it's also, as a carer for someone who's in a bad place, that is also something to consider. If it's too much for the carer, how are
Mm.
they being supported?
Yes, yeah. The carers need care as well,
Yes.
and that's often overlooked.
And we just need more research. Like, we don't know the answer yet. And
Mm.
that's why 50%, such a large portion of emotions profits, is pledged to this. And the whole reason why emotions actually exists is
Yeah,
to find answers. And I did a lot of soul searching, and spoke to a lot of very smart people to find out, is it better to set up a not for profit or set up a social enterprise? And the difference is, a not for profit invests absolutely everything back in the goal, and then the social enterprise a portion of it. And the findings were, so far, it seems that businesses who are set up as a for-profit entity are able to support themselves. They don't rely
yeah,
on grants. They don't have to reinvest everything in June before June 30, and then possibly take on debt 1st of July.
yeah,
And that sort of thing. So there were so many drivers, but it doesn't take away from the impact. And the goal is just donate for research. Mental health is so broad, but we've got to develop in different areas, like we have in cancer treatments, for example.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So it's great work that you're doing, and I would encourage anybody listening to go to your website emotions.org.au and invest in beautiful bamboo toilet paper. The whole toilet paper thing in COVID was, it was crazy. There was that supermarket fight. You remember that? It went all around the world. It's like everything was just crazy. Like you would never think that would happen. But there are some good things that have come out of it. Like, you know,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
like everything, I guess it's how you relate to what happened and how you react to that. That's the most important thing. So you can really grow from any situation if you think, well, I've learned from that, and what I've learned from that is this, and then I'm going to move on and carry that with me.
Yep.
in all situations. You're listening to Startup Journeys, Founders Unplugged with Paul King. I want you to go back now to Rochelle as a child, okay?
Yeah.
Growing up in that amazing half Moroccan, half Aussie family, with all these amazing discussions going on. But back even when you were, younger, like even primary school and that, what was going on with Rochelle then? What do you have, like ideas of what you wanted to do in the future? And what was going on with you as a child? And tell us about that family life. It sounds really amazing.
That's funny. Okay, so you want to meet my inner child. That's hilarious. No one's asked me about that in a long time.
This is where we ask the questions that nobody else asks.
All right, so where to begin? I had really curly, frizzy hair that was completely unruly, and my mum let me run amok. Put it that way. No rules, no boundaries. She was very much that free spirited, had all her daughters. There was one younger than me still. We used to play, and I was the gentle, soft one. The one younger than me, they used to say, I won't say her name. They used to say that I'm lucky that she's smaller than me because she used to bash me up so much. So that was the first thing that comes to mind. But I have the privilege of having a 5-year-old who's apparently very similar to the way I was. He's very gentle. He's very caring. He takes care of our dog. He loves his community, his people. He thrives on conversations. He talks his heart out. He dances to the music and makes people smile. And so all the things that people told me that I was when I was little, I get to see playing out now, and I sit there smiling. And then at the same time, even though we were a busy household of 8, it wasn't always easy. My parents had a really difficult time in the 80s and 90s, the last time the interest rates went up. They also had their business that they were in building and demolition and construction and development, and the interest rates went up to 17% for households, for anyone who remembers that, and 23% for commercial. So
I do.
that was tough. Yeah, you remember.
Yeah, it's nothing compared to now, even though they're high now. That was crazy times.
And everybody who knows the stories or felt it firsthand is a little bit cautious right now. And so we had that as an undercurrent, but always with the importance of family. Now, I don't know how old your kids are, but if you've ever tried to get teenage girls to come to sit down for dinner.
I had 3 girls, and boy, they're all grown up now. But yeah, I know all about teenage girls.
Yeah. So it was crazy. There was a lot of hair products, makeup, screaming, yelling. But my mum always had a rule: Friday night, everyone has dinner together, no matter what. And she had people over. That she always cooked a beautiful 3-course meal. And even though, sometimes we wanted to be there, sometimes we didn't. As adults now, we all do the same thing. We all have to, and we try and do it at least once a week, if not once a fortnight. Always birthday celebrations on the weekend. So that's the inner child coming out into adult life. And they sent me to an all-girls school too, which is like, talk about women power.
Yeah. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, I've got 3 girls and 1 boy. So, and the boy wasn't the last. Yeah.
Yeah. How's he fared in the whole situation?
Oh, no, it's great. Like I fathers, they actually relate really well to girls as well. And so, and Adrian, he's wonderful, and I got to do all the guy things as well. Go to the soccer and all that sort of stuff, and be the cricket coach, not knowing anything about cricket. It only lasted 1 year.
It's an intricate sport.
Yeah, I had no idea, and the manager said, "I want you to be the coach." I said, I know nothing about it. Said, okay, perfect. You're the coach.
Oh, it's a
So,
steep learning curve, that one.
oh, I know. And actually, the last game, I just wanted the boys to have a bit of fun. So on the last few wickets, I said, okay, just all stand on whatever it's called. I didn't know the positions, like all out in one line, like, to try and catch it. And one of the fathers was a cricket tragic. He got really upset, and yeah, I
Oh,
just thought, no, I'm not going there anymore. That was the
oh,
end of my cricket coach career.
oh.
Anyhow, so back to you, Rochelle. We've learned a bit about you as a child, so you've still got those innate sort of, the way you are, caring sort of person, and that, I guess, is why you're doing what you do now as well. And the tragedy that you had in your life, and you've turned that around and really making something amazingly positive out of that for yourself and for so many other people, which is great. And so let's look into the future now. So where's Rochelle going in the next 10, 15 years?
Oh, wow. Okay. So there's your standard interview question. But I I cannot believe how, when older people say, I could never have guessed the way my life turned out.
Yeah.
So I don't even try and do a 10, 15
Okay.
plan anymore. But in the next 5 years, I think, no, I lie. 10 years I can say, because with Financier, I was running that for 13 years.
Mhm.
And there was a very clear evolution. Once you lock in on a goal, you do need 10 years. So and for emotions, my 10-year plan is like the road toll. Let's see it at zero. We can look at how much investment has gone into the road toll. It's only in Victoria, it's only half of what the suicide rate is. So yes, that would be my 10-year goal. But it's a constantly evolving economic situation. So it's about pivoting and
Yeah.
introducing new products, and at the same time really dividing my life into what is business and what is family.
Mm.
Um, and I'm really grateful for everything in the family side, and I put as much energy into that, and just really watching everything unfold, watching my family unfold, and just creating an environment where they can flourish, and planting the seeds and watering them, and seeing who they become.
Yeah.
Um, so that's mostly, yeah.
No, I guess a question there is, because it's hard to have a balance as a startup founder. So how do you balance that, the business and the family? So what advice would you give other founders?
All right. So how do I balance it? The first thing is I have dedicated time. So there's work
Mhm.
time and family time.
Yeah.
And I try not to let them overlap too often. Now, there's probably 3 months in the year where there's an overlap and I can't help it.
Mhm.
Um, and there's plenty of times where I'll have to go off on the weekend and do 2, 3 hours, but it's still the weekend where we go to the activities and see people and have fun. And I find that with enough sleep and healthy eating and
Mhm.
exercise
Mhm.
is the only balance I can give it.
Yeah.
But there are just so many late nights and weekends and forgotten holidays and short holidays and things at different times that are out of my control. And so it's just about keeping as much of those three pillars, the food, the sleep, and the exercise, in
Yeah.
check as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's so important. There's so much research around sleep now, how important it is to get the right amount of sleep, and diet as well. Um,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes,
Um,
very much.
Personally,
I
I'm like a low carb guy, and I just find that my energy level is consistent all day.
If it works for you, everyone's
Yeah,
bodies just work so differently.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Whatever works for you, that's the
yeah,
right thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
awesome, awesome.
yeah.
Well, so just before we finish, is there any other advice that you think you can give, or anything else you want to say, that could help other startup founders that are just starting out or early in their journey?
Yeah, look, there's just so many things that I didn't even cover that I wanted to speak about. But at the start of a journey, it's about going in with a plan. And the plan itself can take 3, 6 months to write. And it can be, it's got to be research based. It's got to look nice. It's got to win people over. It's got to cover the market needs, all the stuff, the data that's when you start. But then when you get into it, it's about partnerships. So
Hmm.
you can see that it's all about reputable partnerships for emotions, and there's some in the forefront, some in the background. So Beyond Blue, Lifeline, and the Black Dog Institute are our big commitments on the money side. But as a startup and in the beginning phase, it's also a huge recognition that it's a much broader spectrum. So in the case of mental health,
Yeah.
um, there's the prevention, which is super important. Prevention is actually 80% of the focus.
Mm.
And then it goes right through to the emergency care.
Yeah.
And the partners that we've got in the background for the prevention side of things, you would be able to see on our website, there's the Torch. So the Torch assist First Nations individuals who have been through the justice system. We don't want to see them go back. One
Yeah.
of the preventative ways is to give them their earning capacity, and they do that through their artwork. So the Torch have experts in and support systems to help people create their art and then sell it. And one of the things Emotions is doing is licensing that art on 3 of our rolls of products, which I've got here. So we've got,
Okay.
this is 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And yeah, and so with this partnership, the focus is on the prevention of the statistics that are just so much worse for our First Nations people. And then again, in the background, another preventative method, and this is a huge one that we've been focused on for already close to 2 years. It's the local manufacturing and employment to support people with either barriers to entry into the workforce, or they're from a marginalized community, or they've got a disability, or, again, it's that creating what we all need, which is an income stream to help them make positive changes in their lifestyle. And that has been through different agencies, and we're now speaking to AFRI Care, again, African community, marginalised community, for help in the warehouse, manufacturing, pick and pack, boxing, that sort of thing. And so those partnerships are integral. And then there's also in advisory, so social outcome solutions supports Emotions in how we can enter the market on a bigger scale. So everything that I do on a day-to-day basis is all about these partnerships. And then as we grow, the community efforts, the awareness, everything builds the brand, builds the community, builds the audience, and hopefully helps us reach that goal, which, if it's not in 10 years, it will just keep going till we reach it, of zero suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the whole purpose behind. So I
Yeah.
really commend what you're doing, Rochelle, and it's a wonderful cause. And I hope people listening to this will definitely support that. And it's easy to support. You just need to buy some paper rolls.
Delivered to your house, contact free, easy, don't have to carry it, looks amazing in the bathroom. Because, also it's a consumer good. We want to make sure that you're happy and everybody's happy with the transaction as they keep buying and to keep talking and get a really good product. And also love the idea that a donation to mental health is a part of your purchase, not just toilet paper.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And we'll leave all the links in the show notes as well for everybody.
Great.
And the number for Lifeline and the Beyond Blue, etc. We'll leave all that information in the show notes. So,
And Lifeline, since you mentioned it,
yeah.
Lifeline have a drive right now for donations, because this is their busiest time of year. We all, to an extent, experience either burnout or the financial pressure or just the total overwhelm, or not eating healthy, not in our regular routine. And so they're calling out for support, especially because, like I said earlier, government haven't been able to do as much of the support aspect this year. And so a lot of the funding is being cut. And so we're really relying on individuals to donate even the smallest amount. $39 will cover one phone call to Lifeline, and that's enough. You've done a great job if you can donate $39 to Lifeline on their website today.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll leave the links to that as well. So
Yeah.
wonderful cause. It's so necessary in this time with, with everything that's going on with mental health and after COVID. So yeah, as you said, we're still feeling the effects, and it's going to take a long time. And wonderful work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you giving your time up today, because I know you're a
Thank
very busy lady. And
you.
yeah,
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
yeah,
And
I
thanks.
really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Rochelle.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.